Okay, so this is the third time that I'm attempting this. There are quite a few things that need to be fixed here. So let's start with this here. So you have this, I don't know what to call it, this rim extruded downward. And then basically you have another bit of faces joining that edge here. So that can obviously not be converted in a T-spline. Because that's non-manifold geometry, so you'll have to delete those. If you want a ledge like this, you'll have to do that differently, and I can possibly show that. So if hang on. So first we're going to fix stuff. Hopefully I don't forget this. So first let's delete that, right? You can't just put a face there. You have to put a volume there, and I'll explain later how to do that, hopefully. So having that removed, it will still not convert. I've tried this a few times already. So then you have triangles in your model. This is a triangle, and that's completely unnecessary. And I'm not exactly sure why you did this. That's also not a good idea, because that's just another triangle, right? So I'm going to delete that. So now we have a quad here, and come on. Oh yeah, I need to go into this is a direct model. So usually I also don't look at models in direct model mode at all, because they're very hard, very difficult to troubleshoot without a timeline. Now for T-Spline modeling, you don't necessarily need a timeline, but for beginning Fusion user, and it's just unwise to use a model without a timeline. That's as simple as that. So now we got that triangle removed, and this is a quad on both sides. That's symmetric. And we can remove this as well by adding an edge. It's called insert point. In other software, like for example in Blender, that's called the knife tool. So you can cut through your polygons. And now we have deleted that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide that edge over, slide edge, slide that over, so it's a little bit more in the middle. So we have two adjacent polygons that have about the same size, and maybe actually I only need to select this one. Then push this in just a tad. So I'll give, imagine all these polygons, they sit on a curve, just similar to a control point spline. So we want that to look even. Okay, so we got that area fixed. So then there is the matter of n-gons. So in theory, there's a T-junction here. There's another T-junction here. In theory, that should actually work. And I'm going to take a look at that last. But there's something else going on here, and that took me quite a while to figure out. If I delete this polygon, what I can see here, there's another polygon underneath that's probably left over from your editing, and that actually has the symmetry line. So actually, that's not what we want. I can just hover with my mouse over here, hold the mouse button down, and then I can select the different faces that are on top of each other. So I'm going to select this one, and I delete it. And I believe there's the same thing down here. Yep. That's the edge. I don't want the edge, I want the face. There we go. Delete that. And now that is deleted. All right. So, overlapping polygons. Here in the end, at the back of the boat, that was very hard to figure out. I had this symmetry line just peeking through here every now and then when rotating the model. So that was that took a while to find that. Something else that you should pay attention to is when you select a polygon, I can select this as an entire polygon. that should actually not be possible because clearly there's an edge in the middle, so I should either be able to select that or select that. So when you see something like that, there's an indication that, again, you have overlapping surfaces that you have created, or overlapping polygons. So I delete that big polygon and just fill that area back in with another one. So then that should be okay. So there is, at least it looks like this is creased, and you don't want to crease that particular edge, I wouldn't think. And before I get too deep into that, creasing in the end, actually I want to uncrease this, proved to be a problem because applying a particular crease, the model did not convert for whatever reason. So it doesn't allow me, so maybe that edge isn't creased. I don't know, that edge creasing display is really kind of iffy. Because sometimes these thick edges, and I'm basically talking to an Autodesk person that I'm going to tag in the thread. Sometimes what looks like a thicker edge, and that would indicate creasing, sometimes that just isn't creased. So if I try to uncrease it, I should be able to select that edge, but it doesn't highlight. So I can uncrease these edges because they're creased, but I can't uncrease this edge because it doesn't look to be creased. And to be honest, I don't know why the creasing tool shows some polygons in yellow and others it doesn't. Maybe I delete that. Yes, so that looked more opaque, that polygon here, or actually not that polygon. This polygon looked a little bit more opaque in that creasing or uncreasing dialog, and the reason for that is that's yet another polygon underneath. Delete that as well and fill that back in. So meaning overlapping polygon, that you had this polygon and then you had another polygon that covered the entire area underneath or on top, either way. So that's removed now, and that's also the reason why yeah, that's the reason why this edge looked a little fatter, because you had basically two polygons. No, that can't be true. I take that back, I don't know. So does this convert now? No, it won't, because when I looked at it last night, there is another overlapping polygon case. So delete that. And we can already see that it starts converting. So if, and there's an edge, I think there's an edge crease missing down there. Crease. So that looks much better. Okay, so let's see if this converts. That's one of the annoyances of working with T-Splines in direct modeling mode. You always have to manually convert the thing. You can't just click on finish form. So it complains about this here. So I think what Fusion does not like is having a creased edge that is that a T-junction terminates in. So maybe we can fix that by just simply inserting a point. That is easy enough to do. So let's try that again. Utilities, nope, wrong. Convert. Okay, so now it complains about that edge there. And I'm assuming that is also here supposed to be a creased edge. But what it doesn't like is that edge. And that I have not been able to figure out exactly why that is the case. I think if I go ahead and crease this edge, and this edge, maybe then it'll convert. So in smooth view mode, that that edge here that looks very straight and fine in box view mode, what I'm going to do, looks pretty crooked in smooth view mode. Wrong command. I want to slide that edge. I want to slide that edge somewhere here into the middle. I don't think that is going to make a lot of difference. So what I miss in Fusion is a slide vertex command that I have in Blender. That'd be really nice. So let me see if that converts. Utilities convert. So that converts. Okay. So actually I figured out a workaround. So now that you have a creased edge here that you may not actually want. So I'll undo that. So that fixes most of the problems with this model, but I'm assuming that you want this edge also creased. So let's crease that and see if the model still converts. Yeah, so if I use the Alt 1 and Alt, so number key and the Alt key, if I switch between 1 and 3, I can switch between smooth view and box view mode, which is what I'm doing here. There's an intermediate mode that I almost never use. It's like visually irritating somehow. So let's see if this converts now. It does. Okay. Problem fixed. So I personally don't like this particular area here because it just doesn't look really great. So, and the reason why I didn't like this area, we had n-gons here, right? So let me go back into the, so it makes, there's an n-gon here, right? It has 5 sides. So what Fusion has under the hood, whether you work with NURB surfaces or with T-splines, Fusion has to work with quad faces. And what that means, if you have an n-gon, Fusion under the hood has to dissect that into quads. So when you convert this, you know, you can see that's a quad, that's a quad, that's a quad, that's a quad. They're all quads. So Fusion has to work with quads. So when you make an n-gon, Fusion internally has to figure out how to break that down into quads. And the problem is that in that case, you don't really have any control where those edges are, right? Because Fusion decides for you where those edges are because you didn't make that decision. So a way to work around this is, and I don't like that in this case either, is insert another 2 edges. Going back into box view mode, and I'm going to slide that a little over. Again, a vertex slide would be nice. Okay, so now you have made the decision for Fusion where those quads need to be. But of course, this doesn't necessarily mean that it still converts. So this doesn't convert. So I did that yesterday, and now you get that, you still have that problem here. So I'll undo that, and with that the model converts, and well, that's what I leave you with. So other than that, I think looking at the model, I think you can delete a few of the edge loops here. I don't think you need that much geometry for this relatively straight or just slightly curved surface. So the fewer polygons you work with, the better it is for editing, right? The more polygons you have to manipulate, the more errors you can introduce and the more work you have to do. So start with relatively few polygons and then add detail as you move along. Only when you are completely satisfied with the overall shape of your object or of a object, then move forward with adding more detail. So hopefully this helps.